welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions. Sorry, let me restart. Okay, we are starting. Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Sheita. Today on the show, Natasha refuses to surrender appeals contempt charge and writes Senate seeking return. In the course of the program, we take your questions, but first subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade Otutoju. Good to see you, BKO.
Good evening, Ibrahim. It's so good to do this again from an unlikely location here in Abuja. I was caught up at an event. But what is important is that we're reaching out to our people, and then we'll do the program no matter what.
Absolutely. And that's the spirit, BKO. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is appealing a July 4th, 2025 federal high court ruling that found her guilty of contempt over a satirical Facebook post, finding her 5 million naira and ordering a public apology. So her legal team argues that the court lacked jurisdiction and failed to follow proper contempt procedures. Can you help us understand why our arguments about the court's lack of jurisdiction over ex-facie Korai contempt is about?
Well, one thing is certain. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan believes that it is best for her to continue fighting. She believes that she has no choice but to continue fighting. She believes that if she decides to apologize and give up the fight, it will be worse for her. She believes that if she apologizes and gives up the fight, then she's doomed politically. So this is the reason she does not want to back down. Please. Move away. This is the reason she does not want to back down. She believes that if she decides to give up the fight, then she is doomed politically. So at this point, I'm aware of meetings that have been held between the two contending groups, and apology was suggested to her, but Natasha says she's not going to apologize because she knows that if she decides to apologize, she could be committing political suicide as a result. So this issue is beyond a point of law. It's a matter of someone fighting to survive politically, someone fighting to continue to gain a foothold politically. And she believes that the worst thing she can do to herself is to apologize to the people who have suspended her. So that is the state of affairs at this time. She has decided to sue the Federal High Court. She has decided to appeal the Federal High Court ruling, citing lack of jurisdiction over the contempt charge, breach of fair hearing due to procedural lapses, and imposition of fine without due process. So she believes that the fine was wrongly imposed without following the due process. Now she wants the contempt ruling overturned and that the appeal court should declare the entire process null and void and quash the fine and affirm that the order that she had not, and affirm that she had not breached any lawful court order. And so the matter of even the satirical post in question, as far as she's concerned, she wants the appeal court to rule that the satirical post in question did not violate any lawful court order. So as she has joined in the suit, the clerk of the National Assembly, the Senate itself, the Senate President, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petition, Senator Neda Imaswen, and she has her legal firm. Our legal team is made up of Okutepa San, Hioge West, Idahosa, J.J. Usman. The point that she's making is the contempt charge, the fine for contempt should be set aside. She believes that the judge was wrong in imposing that fine on her. And she argued that the trial judge lacked the jurisdiction to summarily convict and fine her without issuing the mandatory forms 48 and 49, which will put the contempt charge in contest and will make it comply with the law. She also argues that the judge was guilty of judicial bias, pointing out that similar public commentaries by the Senate President's lawyers, namely Olisa Agbakoba and Monday Ubane-San, which were prejudicial comments about the case, were not punished by the judge. So as far as she's concerned, the judge showed bias. She has also written to the Senate, notifying the Senate of her desire to resume her duties at the Senate next Tuesday. What people are saying is that at this point, Natasha is down. It will be in her interest to apologize as the court had ruled. Otherwise, she will remain outside the chambers of the National Assembly. Her suspension would go on. But if she will apologize, just as the trial judge, Justice Binta Yako, had demanded, then she will be allowed to resume. Justice Nyako affirmed that the punishment was harsh and disproportionate to the offense committed. But Justice Nyako never gave an order of recall. The stories indicating that there was an order of recall made by the judge were clearly false, and apparently the job of hackers, hack writers who were paid to twist the judgment of the court. There was nowhere in the judgment in which the judge ordered the Senate to recall her immediately. So I'm even surprised that Natasha is asking the Senate to obey the judgment of the courts in another breath.
That's right.
This is a judgment that you have appealed.
Yeah.
I must say at this stage that all of the issues in that matter, in that court matter, were resolved against Senator Natasha. So I'm not surprised that she has gone to court, she has appealed the judgment. But the Senate will cross appeal, which means that the resolution of the matter will take a much longer time. And what we've been told is that when the Senate suspends an individual for some days or for some months, they begin to count. They count in terms of legislative days. That is the days that they sit. So the suspension, according to insiders, will be based on legislative days, which is 3 days. They sit 3 days a week, and they usually have recess in the course of the year, or recesses in the course of the year, which means that our suspension could be longer than the 6 months that some of us think is going to be. It will actually be longer than 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
Perhaps even move into another year if we are not. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we could be looking at a recall to the Senate at sometime next year if they are counting legislative days, which is 3 days a week. So the way things are not rosy for Senator Natasha at all. I've always said that the best solution to this matter is an out-of-court settlement, is to look at ways of resolving the matter outside of the court. Remember, she's facing a 6-count cybercrime charge, and the Senate president's wife had also sued her. So the resolution is not close at all. But I know that if both parties agree to make peace, after all, the Senate president is a very good friend, or was a very good friend, of Natasha's husband, Uduahan, Elema. So a political solution is still possible. But if both parties continue to pursue this matter legally in the court of law, Senator Natasha would not get back to the Senate as quickly as our supporters and our constituents want her to come back to the Senate. Because by even appealing this judgment, she is prolonging the time that it will take for her to get back to the Senate.
Get the matters resolved.
But this is all because she does not want to apologize. This is all because she does not want to apologize. And an apology was one of the orders made by Justice Binta Muritalan Yako, because the Senate president complained about the satirical posts on Senator Natasha's official Facebook page, which the Senate president felt was injurious to his image. And he complained to the court that this satirical post was made at a time when the court had given an order that none of the parties to the suit should go to the media to talk about the matter. So the judge felt that there was merit in the judge felt there was merit in the the judge felt there was merit in the complaint made by the Senate president, and it decided to fine Senator Natasha.
That's right, Mikhail. So if you look at Natasha's simultaneous legal battle against the contempt charge and her push for Senate reinstatement is actually created a complex situation. I'd like to know what you think the key legal and political risks she faces by defying the apology order while pressing for a return. And how do you think this affects her standing with both the judiciary and the Senate?
Yes, what I can say at this stage is it makes sense for her to obey the court order. It makes sense. What the judge was reluctant to do was to give a judgment that the judge felt that this is an arm of government and it's a different arm of government. She didn't want to interfere in how an arm of government, a different arm of government is run. It's just like the executive trying to interfere in the way the NJC punishes judicial officers. So seeing this as a different arm of government, the judge didn't want to interfere in the way the Senate has decided to punish Senator Natasha. And that was why the judge said that it is the Senate that can decide the day that she will be recalled, and that she will be recalled once she obeys the Senate rules. So the judge was careful not to interfere in the way a different arm of government metes out punishment or takes decisions concerning erring members. So the judge just didn't want to be seen to be interfering in that way. So if they had contravened their own law or their own regulations, the judge will be in a good position to say, no, based on your own rules, you have not done the right thing. And you can see that the judge ruled on some of the issues that Natasha brought before her, because she complained that she was not given fair hearing. And the judge affirmed that based on Senate rules, the Senate had not done anything wrong by refusing to allow her to speak from a position, from a seat not assigned to her. It's in the Senate rules that you can only be recognized to speak from a seat officially allocated to you. And the judge also affirmed that the Senate president, in the exercise of his administrative duties, is permitted to reallocate seats. So on some of those issues, and the judge also ruled that there was nothing wrong in the Senate directing its committee on ethics, privileges, and petitions to handle her matter. So these were issues that she brought before the court. All of those issues were resolved against her. So it will be interesting to see what happens at the level of appeal. The appeal court is yet to assign the case. So this case is rumbling on. But the big point that I want to make is that Senator Natasha is not prepared to apologize. She's not prepared to give up the fight. She's not prepared to surrender. She believes that doing that will do incalculable damage to her political career. And this is the point that she has been making to people who have been appealing to her to let this matter slide, to let this matter come to an end by simply apologizing to the Senate and to the Senate president. And you will recall that when Senate President Godswill Obot Akpabio was faced with this kind of situation during the Senate presidency of Abubakar Olusola Saraki, Abubakar Bukola Saraki, Akpabio didn't waste time to apologize because he too felt that no, reassigning his seat was wrong. But when it was explained to him that he was wrong, he shouldn't have challenged the Senate president the way he did, He didn't waste time to apologize. So this is what many people are saying. If Senator Natasha had done that, this matter would not have degenerated to the name calling and to the court, the multiple court cases that we are seeing today. And I agree absolutely with them that the matter could have been better handled. For all of the people, the senators who are appealing to her to apologize, to calm down, she dismissed them and continued to rant on the floor of the Senate in a very, very unparliamentary manner.
Right. Let me take one or two comments. Chinedu Okeke says Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is standing up for her rights. The court 5 million naira fine for Facebook post is absurd. How can they punish free speech like that? Aisha Bello says Akpoti-Uduaghan's defiance is bold, but she's playing with fire. The Senate won't reinstate her until she apologizes, and ignoring the court's order would tank her case. Respect the law, Natasha. Tunde Olawale says, kudos to Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan for fighting judicial bias. Other lawyers like Agbakoba made comments too, but only she got slapped with a fine. Sound like selective justice to me. People will expose this. Yusuf Ibrahim says, historical repeat, like Dino Melaye in 2018, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is challenging the Senate's overreach. Her case could limit their suspension powers. Keep fighting, Senator. Let me take this as last. Amaka Okafor says, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's case shows Nigeria's judiciary and Senate need reform. A 5 million naira fine and suspension for a satirical post. Meanwhile, bigger issues go unpunished. Our fight is for all of us. Now, BKO, before I let you go, Natasha's case could, set a precedent for how the Senate disciplines members and how courts handle contempt involving public officials. What challenges do you think this poses for Nigeria's legislative and judicial systems in, balancing authority with individual rights?
What did you say?
Yeah, I said Natasha's case could, I think, set a precedent for how the Senate disciplines members and how courts handle contempt involving public officials. So I'm asking, what challenges do you think this will pose for Nigeria's legislative and judicial systems in balancing authority with individual rights?
No, I think that this case is a litmus test, and I'm not surprised that the Senate has even begun to look at its rules so that punishment will be predictable for any misdemeanor. So they are trying to rewrite their rules now to ensure that there won't be ambiguity about the kind of punishment or the length of time that a senator can be suspended and for what crime, for what misdemeanor. So we will see where this case ends. It may eventually end up at the Supreme Court, which, if that's the case, Senator Natasha will be away for a very long time. But she could then achieve something out of this case by streamlining of punishment, in terms of streamlining of punishment for infractions by
Senate.
the Senate, by senators, or even federal lawmakers generally, because the way it is now, no one is sure of the punishment that you get for certain infractions. We've had senators that were punished. As I said before, one senator was even suspended for a whole year. So we need to know the position of the rules guiding the Senate as per infractions. Some are saying it shouldn't be more than 14 legislative days. Some people argue that when you punish them in this way, it is their constituents that suffer, you know. But one of the bills that Senator Natasha introduced has already been read, even in her absence, which means that they are proceeding even with some of the bills that she sponsored, and um, federal hospital, the IMA, which was also a bill that she introduced, has also received prompt reading on the floor of the Senate, which means that our constituents are benefiting at least a little bit. They may not fully benefit from our suspension, but the fact that they didn't stop work on the bills that she introduced, especially even I'm trying to remember one of those bills on even gold mining, you know. They are proceeding with work on some of the bills that she introduced, which means that the constituents, at least, they are still benefiting one way or another in spite of her absence. And she's continuing her humanitarian work in her constituency, despite the fact that she's not in the Senate. She's doing some work in her constituency. She's done extremely well within the short time that she's been in the Senate. And that was why when she claimed that she was not being allowed to talk and all that, senators said this was a lie because she's one of the most active persons in the Senate. If you are being marginalized and not allowed to talk, the number of times that she has spoken on the floor of that Senate is way higher than the time that most of the senators have been given the all clear to talk. So she's very active. So if the leadership is against her or stopping her from talking, then her record on the floor of the Senate would not have been as great as it is, because she has clearly proved to be one of the most active senators in terms of the contribution she makes on the floor. So if you are not recognized, how do you make contributions? Well, you know, when we are up against this kind of battle between individuals who have big egos and all that, sometimes they will even lie against them, one another just to curry the sympathy of the public. But one thing is certain, Senator Natasha is one of the very active senators in the National Assembly, and our record of service shows clearly that she had not been stopped from playing her role as a senator. She had not been denied opportunity to speak on the floor of the Senate. She had not been blocked from presenting bills. Our record is a very, very impressive one. I can confirm that. And you cannot have such a record in terms of when you get up to speak, when you present bills, if the leadership of the Senate had been stopping you from talking.
That's right, BK. Well, that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, for those insightful analyses as always, and for joining us from a very makeshift position.
Yes, it's because this program is important, we have to do it. I'm in Jabi. Somebody has helped me to hold the phone so that we can do this program for the length of time that we've been here. I'm grateful to him because I know the viewers want to listen to us. So we have always made sure that we come on air, and that's the way it's going to be. No matter how difficult it is, no matter the situation, no matter where we find ourselves, we are going to make sure that we come on air every Saturday at 6 p.m.
Right, thank you
and
so
I
much.
say thank you to our viewers who always make it a date to watch us, and we thank them for their feedbacks.
That's right. Thank you very much, BKO. Really appreciate. Thank you so much for your dedication. Thank you so much once again. Right. So we call it a wrap on the show. Thank you so much, our audience, for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.